Hey everybody, it's Tom again. I had such a blast doing that video with Bob Proctor and doing, a little bit of what it brought up for me, and I find that a lot of times, at lunchtime or at the end of the day, I hop on YouTube or one of these, Facebook, and I watch a video of somebody explaining sort of their take on what's been going on in the world. And, I draw so much inspiration from it because I see so many parallels in my life and in the lives of the people I work with. And sometimes you just sit here and go, man, if I could only do what they do. But we all do. It's just about sharing our own experience and our own opinions in different situations. And so today I found this really cool video from Joe Rogan where he's explaining the biggest mistake that people make. And again, it's his opinion, but there's a lot of parallels that I see in my life and my experience. And I think it's so, in times like these, the connection that we have to other people, and Rogan obviously is rich and famous and been around doing a lot of really cool stuff, from comedy to UFC to his podcast for a long time. And he's got a lot of influence, but at the same time, he's just a normal human being going through life just like you or I, and being able to experience the fact that we all kind of share this sort of journey on the planet together in one way or the other. There's some similarities and some differences, which really bring a lot of spice and joy into the world. I think that can bring greater understanding too, because obviously some of the differences or the perceived differences sometimes really end up being a situation where we start to think about them and they sort of pull us apart more. So I really wanted to dive into this. It's really interesting. So let's do a little screen share here. We'll pull Joe's video up here and let's see what he has to say here. I think I'm going to restart it, so refresh it so we all hear it from the beginning. And of course, conveniently, we get a
what's up? This
ad.
fear of discomfort. People have this extreme feeling in their mind when it comes to their associations with exercise. They want to avoid discomfort. They feel like any type of exercise is just something to be avoided. That's not for me. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to strain. And a lot of times, this association that they have is about the beginnings of getting in shape. It's not about once you're actually fit, because once you're actually fit, exercise is something you look forward to. It's an alleviation of stress.
What's really interesting here is, and no matter what I've seen in life, the biggest sort of roadblock to success and moving forward really is this goal to alleviate discomfort, whether it's to go ask someone at the bar if they would sit down with you and have a drink, or if you're at a party and you want to dance with somebody, or you want to ask someone out, you want to try a new business, or even you want to go and make a change in your health. It's that initial sense that we're going to experience this discomfort, and so we try to avoid that for just what's on the screen right now. Is we actually in the beginning think that when we have a goal and we lean into sort of this discomfort, that actually that's a place that's causing more stress, and so our goal, we back off of it in order to alleviate the stress. But the situation really is, once we get going, it gets easier and easier and easier. And whether that's with doing Facebook Lives, reaching out to someone that you had a disagreement with, it's those first couple of words and those first couple of minutes that are usually the hardest. But after that, it becomes something we look forward to, and it is actually an alleviation of stress. And for me, I see in exercise, this is true. And I see in work, it's like when you try something new, something out of your comfort zone, at first, it is really uncomfortable. But as you move forward, it makes all the difference in the world, and it really ignites your passion, and it's more helpful. But it's just at sort of that initial bump that, sort of gets us stuck.
It feels great. Like if I can't get a workout in, I look at my schedule and go, oh shit, I don't have any time for a workout, which means I'm not going to get that good feeling. And so,
one of the things, anybody who knows me well, I say all the time, like I work out so that I don't go postal, right? For me, I have tied working out with sort of that alleviation of stress, a mental relaxation, a physical growth, and taking care of myself. And not everybody needs it to be a physical workout. I do think that we all should do some types of exercise on a regular basis, but what that looks like for each of us is different. If we're in a health situation where we might not be able to exercise as much as we want right now, there's still something we can do. And it might be uncomfortable up in our mind or even physically uncomfortable, but there is a place where we can balance that physical, mental uncomfortability with actually making forward progress.
Instead of looking at it like, oh, I've got to go grunt and sweat, I'm thinking I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to feel relaxed. I'm not going to feel carefree. And I'm not going to feel even appreciative. Like my appreciation of things, it gets enhanced greatly after exercise.
And another interesting thing here is I keep thinking about think about like medication and supplement protocols that people do, or the way you eat. So many of us, these are areas that are challenging. And when we look at that challenge, we're like, it's too hard to do. It's too hard to do. But the problem is it's also too hard not to do, because afterwards, like Joe was just saying, he's like, if he doesn't exercise, he's like, oh man, if I don't do that, I'm not going to feel good. And inside you, you know that if you don't follow the regimen as closely as you can to get healthier, you're probably not going to get healthier. And you're probably not taking care of yourself as best you can. And then you're going to inadvertently start beating yourself up, which is going to mean that you're going to be even more stuck in the same situation. So we do need to give ourselves a break a little bit and say we're not always going to be perfect. But the thing is, we do need to push, because once we do it, once we set the timer on our phones, right? On our phone, and we go, oh, okay, my supplements, I'm going to take them every time the phone goes off. I've now dedicated that time to myself. I now care about myself so much that I'm doing this, and it is going to pick up steam. And then you're going to start to feel good about it. And you're going to give yourself the opportunity, instead of saying, hey, you're going to start to say, if I don't do this, I'm not going to feel as good.
I just feel better. I feel like I can take things in for what they are, rather than, whatever sensory data that I'm getting from any event is just one more distraction that gets in my way. That's a lot of times how I look at things if I'm overstressed or if I'm working too much. Our bodies, for whatever reason, most people, their associations are to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. But it's so illogical, because when you look at comfort and you look at success and progress and the feelings of accomplishment and of getting past certain hurdles.
Have any of you guys ever done that? That's just such a beautiful view. I just saw it, and I remember learning to rappel and to climb and, go down, go up and on the ropes and everything. And it is scary as hell. But then it's so exhilarating. And once you start to do it, you're like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. But the first couple moves on the way up, or the first few jumps down, man, super scary. It's interesting. I just found like my heart was started almost pumping looking at the rappelling, because I remember it. In fact, I remember even more being the person at the bottom going, oh shit, I don't want to drop this person. But the thing is, it's like we get the training, we go through one, put one foot in front of the other, and we take those steps, and it becomes so enjoyable. But it's so interesting that even just the thought of that experience, of that initially scary then positive experience for me, was able to bring up so much emotion. So think about the emotions that you tie into different experiences you have. Because for me, initially rappelling off of a rock face and climbing up it and falling off a couple of times was initially scary. But then afterwards I said, well, that was a little bit of scariness and a whole bunch of fun. But if you look at another scenario and you're like, hey, this is actually really scary, and you let it continue to be scary rather than something that passed and something better came, then that might be the thing that comes up when you see that picture again.
Hurdles in terms of how you feel about life, a lot of those are connected to discomfort. Discomfort is your friend. It really is. Discomfort and not being happy and content with certain situations in life or certain feelings in life, they're massive motivators, and they're amazing at facilitating change.
The interesting piece about what Joe's talking about right here is, some of the other teachers I've had are really talking about when this discomfort comes up, that is the divinity within you trying to express to you that there's time for change. It is this facilitating change. It's saying, Tom, I want more for you. You have more to give. You have more to go do. What is going on right now can be changed, and it can become better, right? So it is I say this a lot when you're have your goals and you know where you're headed, when you're aligned with your passion, when something comes up that's challenging, that's your internal Geiger counter, your indicator going, lean into it. It is time for a change because this change is necessary for you to grow, for yourself, for your loved ones, your family, and for those around you.
And yet our instinct is to avoid those and just sit on the couch and watch some fucking reality show about dudes who make moonshine with our jaw open, like, ooh, it's bizarre. And for me, at least,
Right? I mean, how many times we go home at the end of a long day and we go, oh shit, time to watch TV, right? To calm down and to de-stress. And sometimes we need to chill out, right? But what is that chill out really moving us in that right direction? And like I said, sometimes that's what we want and need, and we can go in that direction. But other times we really need to look at that. Because for me, I know that if I'm uncomfortable and I lean in, to it, it's going to lead it, as long as it's aligned with my goals, it's going to feel good and get me there. Whereas like if I go home and it's not one of those nights where I really could just use a mental break, but it's more like I'm whining about the discomfort of the day. And instead of taking that next step towards deepening my relationship with my wife or my daughter, or even just taking a break by meditating, I'm just going to zone out. I'm actually going to find that later that night or even the next day, I'm going to feel worse. So look at it. I mean, do you really feel better after watching the episode of how to make moonshine in the back of your truck if you live in some state that you don't? I don't know, right? But I mean, start to pay attention to what's deep inside of you and what it's telling you. And is it truly aligned with your passion and your goals?
when I get like really disciplined and I get really consistent with my workouts, one of the things that I almost feel momentum. I feel like there's like a push behind me, like, all right, like after I get out of the gym, I have a really good workout. I'm like, yeah, now I'm doing it. I'm doing it all the time now. And I'm looking forward.
Right? So you get that momentum. Yeah, I'm doing it. So the more and more that you do these things, the more that change becomes reality for you. The more momentum you gain and it becoming easier and easier and easier to do. But you feel this sense of, I am doing this for me. I am taking care of myself. And it gets easier and easier every time you take that next step.
Forward to the next time. And it makes that resistance much weaker, and it makes my motivation and my discipline much stronger. But it's based on just the consistency.
Totally.
Blowing something off, like blowing off an exercise that you planned, is not just bad for you physically, it's also bad mentally, because then that option is now available. The option.
Right. So key. The option is now available. And as we know with water, it's good. Our mind will often take that path of least resistance, right? That emotional part where we don't want to push through it. It's just going to, oh, well, it's easier to do this. So it is those first couple times that are harder to get going, but the more and more and more you do it, the easier and easier it gets. That's why you see people who exercise regularly, generally it's easier and easier. It's harder for someone who exercises regularly, like myself, to not exercise than to exercise. If you eat healthy food choices, most of the time it actually becomes harder and harder to choose crappy food because your body doesn't like it anymore. If you're in a positive mindset, it becomes easier and easier to stay in that positive mindset and harder to get into a negative one. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have good days and bad days, but what it does mean is that in the beginning, put the work in order to make that shift. Because once you change your level of awareness from focusing primarily on how shitty stuff is and how bad it is and negative, to focusing more on the positive, it will become easier and easier and easier to stay at that place and harder to fall backwards. And the other thing with that whole piece is that positive thinking does not mean that you don't look at the facts of your day and address them properly. In fact, what it means is you have more freedom mentally, physically, and emotionally, more energy to put in to addressing the quote unquote negative things that may come into your life than you would if you were already focused on those negatives.
To fuck off is available, and you did it before, and you're probably going to do it again, and you'll get mediocre results, not just in that aspect of your life, but maybe in all aspects of your life. Because I think that option to fuck off, when you embrace it, that is a pathway that you might choose when it comes to dealing with conflict in your personal life, dealing with business decisions, dealing with career decisions, like an uncomfortable decision that you might be faced with, or maybe you need to make a change as far as like what your pathway is in life, but you don't do it. Instead, you fuck off.
You know, it's so interesting is that in the Thinking into Results program that I was trained by Bob Proctor and his group to coach and to help people work through, I see this all the time, because the thing is, somebody comes in and they're like, hey, I want to triple my income, or I want to improve, get this promotion, I want to get this house, or my goal really is to deepen my meditation practice. And what you'll see is whatever that goal is, other things happen too. You'll see that somebody who wants to go from making $50,000 a year to $500,000 a year will achieve that. But now also they find out their relationship with their spouse and their children is 100-fold deeper. They're going to find that they lose 42 pounds in 6 months. One decision to move forward through that discomfort that is in the direction of your main goal will have this ripple effect throughout your life.
And that inclination to fuck off, I think that gathers momentum as well. The inclination to be disciplined, that comes with momentum too. I think both things, like you take a path, like the path of the healthy person or the path of the fuck off. Like, this is not, like, your body is like a race car that you can juice up yourself. Like, you can add the fat tires, you can add the improved suspension, you can beef up the horsepower in the engine. You can do all that yourself. Or you could just choose to have this shitty body that's always falling apart on you, because we're essentially ecosystems. We're in charge. This weird consciousness that has all this resistance and has all this inclination towards comfort and fucking off and blowing things off is what is in charge of making all these things happen that keep this ecosystem healthy.
That is really the question. Now, do we choose to gain the momentum in a positive, disciplined way, or are we going to choose momentum in that other direction?
It's almost like if Earth itself had like a shitty manager, if like there was a manager, like a natural manager of Earth that was like, oh God, who cares if it rains? Oh God, like I'm going to stop growing things. I don't give a shit anymore. It's all stupid anyway. People that don't exercise, they physically feel their own body diminishing, and they just feel it's inevitable. It is what it is.
Right. So how many times have we made that choice to just sit back and let these things become inevitable in our lives? And what I'm what I'm here to tell you is you have a choice. You can decide. And it's like, if you think your health is sucky and you got something outside like Lyme disease or babesiosis, Bartonella, mold, or what, yeah, it's all outside and we're going to blame it on something else. The problem there is that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have Lyme, I can't get better. I have cancer, I can't get better. This person cheated on me. My life sucks, people cheat on me. Those are self-fulfilling prophecies. Or we can look at the other side and create a goal for where we're going. We're going to learn from the past, but we're going to create a goal and design our future. And when we start to look to the future, there's at least a 50-50 chance that that's possible, right? I mean, you give yourself half a chance if you're crystal clear in where you want to go and you make the decision not to focus on the negative, but to focus on the positive. And again, let's go back. We're not pretending these other things don't happen. What we're doing is we're getting crystal clear on what we really want, and we start acting like that has already happened, so that if we want to be someone who makes $500,000 a year rather than 35 or 50 or is flat broke, we need to think differently. So let's make that goal and let's start thinking that way now, so that when money or health comes into our life now, we can start to appreciate it, welcome it, and savor it and gain the momentum with it as if we were someone who had already accomplished that.
Waste your time. You're out there running around. But no, we're not, because this experience right now, it's not like, no one's under the illusion you're going to live forever, but you are enhancing the experience that you're currently involved in right now. And you are alive. You do experience this life. But do you experience this life optimally? Is it as enjoyable as it can be? And we all know that there's a spectrum for that enjoyability. Like, we've all had times in our life where it's not been so great. And then times in our life where everything came together, like, what a fucking great day. Woo! Make more of those. Like, you can make more of those. And I think when that whole thing is better, it affects everybody you touch, everybody that's around you, everybody you come in contact with, and that in turn I mean, it sounds so grandiose, but in turn can affect the entire race of human beings.
Love it. Awesome. So Joe Rogan, I love that video, and I, really appreciate that being posted to by Fight Mediocrity. And really, I think in the end here, what's really crazy about this whole thing is that you do have that choice. Let's make more of it, because what's awesome is when you put more of that out in the world. Like Joe was saying, it's not just about you. That's nice, but let's think about the ripple effect of those around us, because the way the universe works is when we get in alignment with our true purpose, our passion, our goals, the universal energy comes into us, that life energy that comes to and through us, and it breathes us. We will align our conscious thinking with our subconscious mind. Our bodies will then take action, because our subconscious, that emotional part of us, is going to drive our actions. And when we start driving our actions, there's like an arrow going out to the rest of the world. And the more we push that arrow out, the more another arrow is coming towards us, right? So the more we put out to the universe, the more that comes to us, and it comes faster and faster and faster. So do this for yourself. Create the goals that you want to see in your life, the health goals, the relationship goals, the money goals, the business goals, whatever they may be. Create those, and then start living as if you're there, and feel and appreciate the positive things that come into life. Create more of them. Allow them to create the momentum. And then when all these other things happen, that happens in life, there's going to be some crappy days. That's all right, right? We're not going to pretend they're not there. We're going to relish those, and we're going to learn from them. And we're going to go, hey, you know what? I wish it were better, but I know where I'm headed. And then the more and more we stay focused on that, the easier and easier it becomes. We've gained that positive momentum, and then more and more and more energy and success in whatever that is, and all other aspects of our lives, is going to be coming at us in amazing speed, because now we're in harmony with the universe and we've closed the loop. So let's stop fighting it. If the thing is, there's a difference between fighting it and discomfort. If it feels uncomfortable but it's moving in that right direction, I would suggest it might be a time to lean into it. But if you're kind of like fighting it and fighting it and fighting it, and you're like, this is wrong, maybe we need to take a different path. The other thing, though, is if you put both of those kind of, because I don't want to be doing things that are not aligned with my passion. I don't want to be doing things that are incorrect, that are in violation of other people's rights or anything like that. My goal is to uplift everyone around me, myself, and everyone, right? But the thing is, if I'm struggling in an area and it's become more of a fight than just like a little bump, maybe that's a time to ask for help, reach out. Maybe that's a time to look at it from a different perspective. So if you find yourself in your mind going, I'm fighting this over and over, but it is truly in alignment with my goals, my dreams, and in my heart it resonates as correct, that's the time to reach out and ask for help. So as I mentioned, I work with people through Bob Proctor's Thinking in the Results program, and I have some other programs that help people. Certainly reach out if that's something you're interested in. But most importantly, take a look through the video again, and maybe even, what are you going to do today? What is one step you can take that's going to help you gain momentum? Or where's an area that everyone out there in social media land can actually help you gain momentum in? Because we can all share energy together and move in that direction. What inspirational video have you seen that you might like us to talk about a little bit? I'm always happy. I'm very happy if people want to share different things that they found that were helpful to them. I'd love to share them with other people. I'd love to chat about them, because that's how we all learn. And it's interesting. We talk a lot about how YouTube and Facebook start to really market to us very specifically based upon our choices. But just pull up your YouTube, right? What videos are coming up? Is it all this COVID hysteria, and is it this thing and that thing negative? Or is it uplifting things? Is it people bitching about stuff? Or is it, if you look at mine, there's like skiing, guitars, and all this uplifting stuff. And it's exercise and uplifting, yeah, Joe Rogan uses some swear words. So do I. I watch Bob Proctor's stuff. I watch Mary Morrissey. Some Eckhart Tolle. I don't hear anybody swearing, but the idea is they are all uplifting and moving in that direction. So take a moment, look at what are you know, people talk a lot about, we can tell a lot about you by the 5 people who are closest to you. One of the questions I would have are, what are the top 5 videos that pop up when you open your YouTube? You know, or what is getting streamed into your Facebook feed? What are the top 5 advertisements on the side? What are the top 5 things that pop through? Are these in alignment with where you're going, and or where you want to go? You know, because if they're not in alignment with where you want to go, what we do know is they are in alignment with where you are going, because they're, the more things that you put in here on it's all about repetition to get from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind and then create your results. It's about repetition. What is getting repeated to you day in and day out? Find an inspirational video, find an inspirational song, an inspirational quote. Make sure you watch it once in the morning and then reflect on it and how it relates to your goals. Do it again in the evening and see how that makes a huge change for you. Anyhow, thanks so much for joining me today. Love sharing. I wish everyone the best. To all my friends and neighbors in Connecticut and the surrounding area where we don't have, we have patchy electricity, patchy cell phone, patchy internet, and even a lot of patchy water, unfortunately. All the best. You know, love to all of you. I mean, it was pretty scary for our family, but together we're all going to get through this. Have patience with each other, have patience with the crews who are working around the clock to get us all back on track. This will pass, and we're going to move through this all, you know, safer, happier, healthier together. Be well, everyone. Lots of love.